Like, how much more true does it get than sitting inside of an old Baptist church I got baptized in 20-something years ago, have since done nothing but go to prison, do a bunch of people wrong, make a lot of mistakes in life, turn it around, go on to be a fucking multi-millionaire, help as many people as I possibly can. It's the fucking wildest story ever to me.
Jelly Roll has been in the news a lot lately since his CMT Music Award win, his 3 #1 songs, and his recent speech to Congress. He's probably the last person you'd expect to see sitting in the chair of the United States Senate, but that's exactly what happened a few days ago. He spoke to the Senate committee about stopping the takeover of fentanyl. What he said shocked the members in attendance and probably everyone else who's watched it since, but we aren't here to talk about the speech. I didn't know much about Jelly Roll, but when I heard him speak, I realized that this man has lived a hell of a life.
I've attended more funerals than I care to share with y'all. This committee, I could sit here and cry for days about the caskets I've carried of people I loved dearly, deeply, in my soul, good people.
Hearing the pain and passion he spoke with got me wondering where it all came from. This video will explain everything that makes Jelly Roll say, "I sing from a lifetime of hurt," and how he journeyed from the big house to the big stage. Jelly Roll's real name is Jason DeFord. He was born in Antioch, Tennessee in 1984. His South Nashville suburb was a world where drugs, poverty, and violence were the norm. His dad had a job as a meat salesman, but was also a bookie as a side hustle. Jelly Roll describes his dad as a great dad and credits him with teaching the importance of the hustle.
I knew my father booked bets. I knew my mother struggled with drugs. So to me, this was just what you did.
Although his mother struggled heavily with mental illness and addiction when he was young, Jelly Roll thanks her for helping him fall in love with music and helping him grow into the storyteller that he is today. We also have her to thank for being the one who gave him his nickname.
Yeah, to this day, my mother calls me Jelly. If somebody walked in here right now and said Jason, I wouldn't look up.
On the Bobby Bones Show, Jelly Roll paints a picture of his earliest moments and memories of music.
You know, she'd put old records on and smoke cigarettes in that old moo-moo and sit at the kitchen table and just white trash as could be, just singing along to Bob Seger or Waylon Jennings. And I just remember thinking, man, I want to make music that makes people feel like this music makes my mother feel.
It was in this landscape that Jelly Roll started writing music around the age of 7 or 8. At that time, he was mostly writing raps, even though he was also heavily influenced by the country side of Nashville.
I ended up in hip-hop because it was the language of that neighborhood.
Yep.
And because it resonated with me rather quickly. I understood the way to express myself in a rhythmic pattern, and I didn't think I could sing.
He competed in rap battles and did pretty well.
You won a battle as a teenager?
Yeah, a few times, man. I won a lot of battles, dude. It was the first time I made like $1,000, which in the 90s is...
Sure.
He tells Popcast about his influences and how exactly he got into rap.
Southern rap, like 8 Ball and MJG.
I knew it.
3-6 Mafia, UGK, Outkast, the Dungeon Family, the Ghetto Boys, even the earlier side of like Swisher House and Chameleonaire and Paul Wall. We were just fixing to get our feet wet. Like we were putting out mixtapes, so we were using every reference we could. Of course, the locals like Haystack, who was even before that. You know what I mean, dude? I mean, he was in the Murder Dog magazine. You know, it's like, which was a really kind of Southern-based thing.
He was the baby of the family and felt like he didn't get many choices about things. Even something as simple as what radio stations he listened to.
I'm the youngest of 4, so I'm the baby.
Right.
And we say the youngest of 5 because we had another one that was always there. I had zero control of the radio. When it was me and my big sister's car, I'm listening to whatever my big sister's listening to. When I'm in Big Brother's car, I'm listening to whatever Big Brother's listening to. I'm in Dad's car, I'm listening to what Dad's listening to, you know. So when I'm in Mom's room, I'm hearing Mom's music.
This also explains how he was influenced by so many different musical genres. But when he was 14 years old, he made one choice that changed the entire trajectory of his life. Jelly Roll found himself in and out of prison for the next 12 years. He was arrested and convicted of robbery and later faced charges for possession with intent to distribute. For the first time ever, he discussed it publicly on the Joe Rogan Experience.
The charge, I just say it was a heinous crime. Admittedly, it was horrible. We robbed a couple of guys for some weed, but they called the police because we took some money and some stuff. And it was an armed robbery. I mean, we went in there with a gun. I regret it every day of my life, Joe.
Selling drugs was how he felt he could realistically make money.
1 foot out, I just never had enough faith to focus only on the music. So even when I was in the streets selling drugs, I was passing out mixtapes with quarter ounces of cocaine. You know what I mean? I always knew that the music was my only chance because I knew the way the people in the community responded to it, that it could be big. But I was so focused on not being broke that I never would take the chance to risk losing all of that for this, was my problem. But that's probably, I've never said this to nobody because it's hard to admit that, but I had to really internalize the struggle of like, you're letting go of for sure money. Risky money, could get killed money, could go to prison for life money, but consistent money. To say I'm gonna go live in a van and chase this dream for 10 years. I'm just like, yo, here's a sack of weed, here's a gram of coke, here's a mixtape, you know what I'm saying? I rap too.
He not only sold drugs, but he used them. In an article with Billboard, he said, "In the beginning, I did a lot of drugs. I drank a lot of codeine, a lot of cough syrup," he explains. "I took a lot of Xanax, did a lot of cocaine, just really took it overboard. I've had years. Dude, I don't remember years." He goes on to say, when you grow up in a middle and lower class community, no one sees the effects of drug abuse like those people. Growing up in the environment that he did makes it easy to understand how someone could turn to the streets to try to support themselves.
I think I was more drawn to the streets for like an option out. I know that sounds weird. Like, how do you go further into the streets to try to get out? I thought it was my only choice at a certain point in my life.
With the story unfolding like this, it seems almost impossible that Jelly Roll could turn his life around, much less become a famous musician. But another singular moment changed Jelly Roll's life forever.
Said, DeFord, you had a kid today. I said, what? He said, yeah, you had a child. And I was like, what's her name? And he said, hell, I don't know.
When his daughter Bailey was born, it was the catalyst he needed to make significant changes in his life. But as most felons will tell you, just making the decision to live your life differently isn't always enough. Jelly Roll describes what it was like back on the outside and trying to support his daughter.
I came home and started selling CDs off of spindles and mixtapes out of trunks and doing shows and, you know, selling a little bag of bud here and there when I had to.
So what made Jelly Roll's situation different? It comes from the fact that he doesn't try to shy away from his pain and his past. He uses every ounce of the pain he's experienced in his life to tell his story through his music. This allows him to connect with fans who've had similar experiences and speak for those who are still stuck in those ways of life. He described it well in his interview with Bobby Bones.
Just make real music for real people. I call it therapeutic music, Bobby. It's just important. Some music's meant to be heard and some music's meant to be felt.
He's found his voice, and in it, a way to use the negative experiences in his life to speak for those who can't speak for themselves. He has this to say to the young men and women growing up in tough situations.
These kids need chances. They need to see outside of their environment. I don't know anything past that environment. Nobody ever comes through and tries to help these kids, man. And that's what I'm the most passionate about, and that's what I want to help with the most. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is when it comes to it.
Because he sings his truth, we can be sure to continue to get the most genuine music from Jelly Roll in the future, no matter what genre it falls into.
But maybe one day I'll write a happy song. You know what I mean? But I just don't, they're just not, it's not how, it's like therapy for me. It's like I walk in that room and all of a sudden I just feel the need to express this pain that I've experienced in life.
Like I said at the beginning, I didn't know much about Jelly Roll, but after researching for this video, I've learned that Jelly Roll is one of the most genuine, honest, and inspirational people in music today. Aside from his powerful ability to connect with his fans, he uses his platform to give back and support the members of his community that are just like he was in an attempt to help them find a better path. Much of his time is spent speaking to young people who are incarcerated.
When I go to juveniles, I'm trying to get you to understand that you're loved.
But the message that really stuck with me was his message that even after making the remarkable comeback he has, he doesn't have all the answers, and it's okay if you don't either.
I think that it's cool to see vulnerability that way and that we can all grow together and that it's okay to not have it figured out at 35. It's okay to not have it figured out at 25. It's okay to not have it figured out at 15. Just know that you can figure it out and believing that.
The long-haired son of a sinner is someone who most of us can connect with on some level. He is always unapologetically himself, and this is why we love him. Even if you aren't a fan of his music, I hope that this video has helped you appreciate who he is as a human being beyond music. As his success undoubtedly grows, I for one will be excited to see where he goes and what he does next. Like Jelly Roll, so many artists use their past experiences as inspiration for their music. This is particularly true for Burt McCracken and The Used. If you want to know their story, check out our YouTube video on them next.